Hello YouTube! Like many of you, I have recently started playing Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire by Games Workshop. In what seems to be a growing trend from Games Workshop, Shadespire uses cards as an integral part of gameplay. So today, we're going to look at a couple of options in protecting those valuable cards. Now, card protection is something that collectible card game players have been dealing with for a long time, but for those of us who have more of a tabletop wargaming background, this is kind of new territory for us. Games Workshop has released a number of games recently where they're introducing more and more cards, so now those of us who have mainly dealt with protecting our minis up until this point now also need to start worrying about protecting our cards as well. Today we're going to be looking at two different types of card sleeves for our Shadespire cards. We're going to be taking a look at the official Games Workshop Shadespire card sleeves, as well as some generic card sleeves from Fantasy Flight Games. First, let's take a look at the official Games Workshop card sleeves. Now, each pack of card sleeves from Games Workshop comes themed for a specific warband. The ones we're looking at right now are the Steelheart's Champions card sleeves. There are three different types of sleeves that come in this package. There is a completely clear on both sides sleeve for your champions cards. That way, when your champions get inspired, you just flip it over and you can still see the back side of the card. Completely clear on both sides. Then there's the sleeves themed specifically for the power cards. Obviously the playing side is completely clear, but the back side is actually nice artwork themed for the Steelheart's Champions with the big hammer and everything. Really, really nicely done. Nice artwork on those. And then lastly, we have the same thing but for objective cards. Again, obviously one side completely clear, the back side with the gold color symbolizing that it's an objective card with the nice Steelheart's Champion image on the back there. Now, the thing with these sleeves is that the sleeve itself is extremely tight fitting on the card. It actually takes a little bit of force to get it down in there, and there's very, very little wiggle room. There are two small issues I have with these card sleeves. The first being that the clearance across the top of these sleeves is so minimal that you really kind of run the risk of your card kind of edging its way out of the top of the sleeve and therefore accumulating a lot of wear on the top of the card there. It's not a huge deal, but it's something that you'd kind of want to be mindful of as time progresses with these. The other very small issue I have with these sleeves is the fact that they do have customized artwork per warband on the back of the sleeve. In some ways that's a benefit. It's a cool thematic thing to do, but I found very quickly that if you're the type of player who attempts to tune his cards, or tune his deck I should say, in between games, so you play a game with a friend, you decide that a couple of cards aren't working for you so you want to swap them out. Well, unless you have all of your cards in these thematic sleeves, then it's harder to just swap in and out a couple of cards and keep them in the same kind of sleeve. Essentially, you would be pulling cards out of sleeves, swapping them out. If you're like me, you have several decks already, so you have a collection of spare cards. The card pack itself only comes with enough sleeves to cover a standard size deck. So all the extra cards that come in those decks, you would have to buy several of these sleeve packs in order to have enough sleeves for all the cards. So those are my only two real issues with the sleeves. Again, honestly, they're minor issues. The sleeves themselves are very nice. It's a very thick mylar that they use for the sleeves. High quality. I have no worries on its ability to protect the cards over the longevity of my time playing the game, other than the fact that the top of the sleeve ends so quickly after the top of the card. Now let's take a look at these generic card sleeves from Fantasy Flight Supply. These are their standard card game size card sleeves. They're 2.5 by 3.5 inch, completely clear on both sides of all the sleeves. So you lose a little bit of cool points for not having the customized back on your power and objective cards if you like having the artwork there. But the real upside, again, if you're someone who tunes their deck in between games, this makes it much, much easier to simply grab another card real quick and swap it out, not worrying about having to actually swap the card sleeve itself as well. Ideally, you wouldn't have to really worry about swapping card sleeves, but if you play a few games with your opponent with a couple of cards not in sleeves, it's not going to take your opponent long to figure out what you have in your hand if you've got 1 or 2 cards in your hand that don't have sleeves on them. Now, the quality of these cards really feels pretty much the exact same as the Games Workshop card sleeves. I can't feel any difference in the thickness of this Mylar at all. They really both feel like a high quality plastic. Again, over the longevity, I have no worries about their ability to protect the cards. The other thing I like about these over the Games Workshop cards is they're just ever so slightly larger. You have just a tiny bit more clearance, maybe like a millimeter or 2 on the edge, and then probably 3 or 4 extra millimeters along the top. The additional space on the side makes it easier to slide the cards in and out when you want to sleeve your cards in the first place, and then the tiny little bit extra along the top really just gives you that tiny little bit of added protection over the long haul. Now, let's talk about probably the biggest motivator that most players are going to have when it comes down to which set of sleeves they're going to buy. Price. Now, like all things Games Workshop, these sleeves come at a bit of a premium. Right now, for a set of 35 sleeves on Amazon, these are about $11. Whereas the Fantasy Flight Supply cards for 50 sleeves are currently about $5 on Amazon. So if price is the biggest motivator for you, you are definitely want to go with these Fantasy Flight Supply sleeves. The package is half the price of the Games Workshop sleeve, and frankly it comes with more sleeves. If you're all about theme and cool factor, then you're going to want to go with the Games Workshop sleeves. They're more expensive, but they're a little cooler. I just wish that there were a few more in the pack. I wish you got a few extra of the objective and power card sleeves, just so that you would have some spares to throw some in and out in between games. Moving forward, I think I'm going to stick with the Fantasy Flight Supply sleeves just because I can buy a lot more of them for a lot cheaper and sleeve every card in my collection and not have a bunch sitting in a box unprotected. Anyway, that is all for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, let us know why in the comments below. And remember, the most important thing, have fun with your games, guys.